son's 14, but he's plays all the time, and he's really into like Rush and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and I'm like, your son's 14, and he's like, yeah, he only loves 70s rock. He's like the Who and all this. I'm like, awesome. He's a huge Deadhead. He's a huge Deadhead, and he like has a bunch of like, I forget who it was. It was in the public speaking class, and I forget the woman who was the teacher of it at prep. But there was one guy. I know you were friends with him, and you'd go to Dead shows or Fish shows or stuff like that, and he had like dozens and dozens, or maybe even like a couple hundred Dead bootlegs. He's kind of heavy set guy.
Are you thinking of Joe Corbett?
Might have been no.
Was
shorter.
Was he in our year?
He was in our year. Yeah. He was shorter than me and kind of heavy set, and maybe dirty blondish hair. I can't remember his face. If I ran across him, I'd be like, "We went to prep, but I don't remember your name." It'd be one of those things.
Was it Nash?
Nash.
Yeah.
Nash Cognetti?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was him. Yeah. Anyway, Joe is or his son, David, is a sweet kid and a ripping musician. And so he proceeded to join us every single week from the end of March through like Thanksgiving, having this jam, and would basically just do whatever. And he like learned new instruments just to be able to play them at the jam. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean,
talented kid.
Super talented. He plays bass, keys, can sing a little bit, guitar really well, plays mandolin. He's like, wow. He does harmonica. And he's really good. He's a great musician. I wish I played played that many instruments at that time, because like think how fun he'll be around a campfire. Just, like just bring a few different instruments with him and like be able to rip on all of them is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you have Sloan and Sonia, like, will you have them take music lessons?
If they want. I think as long as the jam was really awesome for them, because and I know, because I think my role is just to show them someone really having fun playing music. Mm-hmm. And they can see how cool that is, and they can see that, like, most of the time I'm up in front singing, and how cool it is, and I'm kind of in charge of the crowd. That's probably all they really see, is that like I'm in like kind of a leadership position with the thing. The jam is my thing. I know, like, Sonia presents it like, my dad has the COVID Smile Jam. He's got the jam on Friday nights, and all that. She's very proud that her dad has this jam, And
does that make you feel really proud?
Oh, super, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Like, if she feels proud of me, like, that's like the best, It's super good. And like every time at the end, Sloan gets up on the drums and plays drums for everybody. And like, dude, he's not even 3. He holds a beat. He can play fills. He can play on time. Like, and he plays with feeling and dynamic. It's really something. He knows what he's doing. It's very cute. He's so cute.
It's very cute.
'Cause at that point, he's probably in his jammies. And then he's playing drums for everyone. So.
I mean, that's pretty appropriate, mm-hmm. to be in your jammies for the jam.
Yeah. When did you move? You moved to the West Coast for OM school?
I moved to the West Coast.
No, you moved to San Francisco first.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it was 2003 when I moved, the summer of 2003.
Because you were at St. Joe's?
I went my freshman year to St. Joe's.
St. Joe's, and then you moved.
Then I went to Chicago.
Yes.
I went to Loyola. Yeah.
That's right.
And then, after that, I went to Costa Rica, which is where I met Mandy. And then I moved out to the Bay Area because one of my high school friends, Casey, was living in a co-op. And I was well, there's like multiple reasons. I had always been interested in communal living, so I wanted to like see what that was all about. And I was supposed to take this AmeriCorps gig, but I was waiting to hear back from it. So she was like, just come out here. So my sister Catherine and I just drove across the country and went to Berkeley.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And wound up there. And I'm so happy we did. That was like such a transformative 2 years.
Well, no, go ahead.
Well, I just think about that co-op and what a wild place it was, especially to like be and come into in your early 20s.
Right.
It was amazing.
What are like, I guess, what are some of the, like, I don't know, what are the like 15 years later, what are the takeaways that you remember from the experience? Because the way takeaways morph over time.
Yeah.
Change you.
I mean, I think probably the biggest thing that there's a couple things, but the biggest thing that I learned being there was how to communicate with people. And I mean, I'm sure I can still work on that, but like just learning how to resolve conflict was huge. I mean, we had so many meetings about how to communicate and how to resolve conflict and have those conversations. Like that was my introduction to nonviolent communication and all that stuff. So that's definitely a skill that I think I've taken with me from there. I learned how to cook big meals for lots of people. I still I don't know how to cook a 2-serving meal. Like when I cook a meal,
you have so many leftovers.
I'm cooking for 10 people always.
You cook for a week with every meal.
Totally.
You better like what you're cooking because you're going to eat it for like 6 days.
Oh, salmon again.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I think another thing, at least just moving, I don't know if you felt this way moving to California, but definitely like moving to Northern California in the Bay Area, I feel like I saw that there was a different way to live than anything else that I had been introduced to before, especially in the co-op world, I think. I like just saw adults my parents' age living a totally different life that I was like, oh, like this is possible to do.
Example. Do you remember a specific person? Like an older person at the time? They're probably our age now.
Yeah, I feel like I know. I feel like a lot of people kind of blend together, but I remember our one of our landlords at the last house that we lived in, the house that you probably stayed at the most.
Mm-hmm. The red house.
Was I think it had like wood shingles.
Yeah.
In it, and it had the sauna and
yes.
They were. I remember them being more like hippies, and they would eat local and organic and get naked and hang out in hot tubs and saunas. And it wasn't just like these young kids doing it, but it was like, oh, adults do this too. And a lot of my friends' parents, they did that with their parents. And like, that's just not something that we did growing up. Or, I don't know. It just was like this whole other sort of alternative exposure to like alternative ways of living that I didn't really see as much growing up in Clark Summit. And then, in Chicago, it's definitely super diverse, and I saw a lot of different ways of being, but it was still sort of, I don't know, it wasn't as like free as the West Coast.
Mm-hmm. I guess if I had to do it again, I don't have regrets about it, but if I had to do it again, it would have been nice to have lived up in the Bay Area for a while. And I did, one of my job offers out of college was for up there, to live out like in the Palo Alto area. And I ended up not taking it, and I moved to LA. But LA, I never really found people with really left of center. I'm sure they were out there. I bet if I went to like the canyons, like people that live in like the canyon country area and stuff like that, there was probably a lot of people like that. But yeah, your spot there was really unique. I was so happy when I was like up there working for a while, and I would just like come over every day after work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just like this. I just had to be there. The energy there was so cool to hang out with, even if it was like uncomfortable. It was like uncomfortable in a positive way. That's the way
Yeah.
I'd put it.
Yeah.
It was like it forced me to think different and to just be cool about the whole thing, even if it made me feel a little off. But one thing I took away from that that has never left my life is that I like to just get naked and be in my house, or to go out to the jacuzzi. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I went to the jacuzzi with a bathing suit on. You know, it's probably before COVID, before when people were coming over and hanging out at the house. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, it's the best. Why not swim without anything on? The water feels
Yeah.
great. You know? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really special like time and place. I think about it, and it was only 2 years, but it just was so.
It was only 2 years?
It was only 2 years,
That's
but it was
crazy.
so impacting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jay is here in Portland. I see him a lot. Actually, I just talked to him today. But I see him a lot, and it is like it's interesting to there we've talked about like there's no way to really like recreate that. It was just like this. It was all these people in a very specific time of their life together, wanting to live in this certain way, and it just worked out. And I mean, there was definitely like personality things and people with different needs, things that there was bumps in the road for sure, but it was, I don't know, it was pretty, I think it was like pretty special to have this group of people, to see what you could do when you had a group of people working towards a similar goal.
One way I always thought of it, because of the amount of like touring I did playing in bands, is that living situation you had was like being in a band that didn't play concerts or go on tour. It was like that. That's what it felt like. It was like there's like something to accomplish today, but we don't have to like play a show or like lug a bunch of gear around or go fend for money for gas for the van or something like the activities were different, but the feeling was kind of like a band.
Yeah, you can
It's like
see that.
everyone played an instrument in the household,
Yeah.
whether it was musical or not, but they had something that they were good at that lended to the overall quality of life of the household,
Yeah, I think that's very true.
There was someone that had an eye for aesthetics and how things should lay out. There was someone who was probably like the most green thumb of the household. Someone who was definitely like, when it was their turn to cook, people made sure they were back home. Like, I'm definitely eating at the house tonight because so-and-so is cooking and they're awesome,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, Someone who knew how to get good deals. Like, there was probably a dumpster diver that lived there that was, like, really good at finding anything,
Yeah. I think there was multiple dumpster divers.
Yes. Yeah, you need a good dumpster diver. I got this printer. Look at this printer. Now we can print stuff. Someone who knew how to fix the Wi-Fi, that kind of.
Yeah.
But even at that point, you were right on the edge of it, of whether you even had that or not. Yeah, when did you actually start having Wi-Fi in our homes? I think it was a little bit later. I think it was...
Like if we had Ethernet or not?
If you had Ethernet, but no, when you actually started having a laptop and being able to roam around the house without being wired in. That was probably after that. It was probably more like 2000, 6 or 7-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because I don't think we had that until after I was married.
I mean, I think about when I went to acupuncture school, we still got printed out lecture slides, and I wrote on the slides.
Yeah.
but that's